Hello, my name is Joel Lucas, and I am going to be presenting my project, which is called Joel's Kindergarten, and I hope you enjoy. So, first and foremost, project description. This project consists of all the tables in the database Joel's Kindergarten. The data in the database consists of both the necessary data for the employees and students. So, we're essentially going to be breaking down all the tables that I've created for Joel's Kindergarten and the associated columns within that. So, the goals of this project. The goal of the project was creating a database that neatly arranged all potential data one may need to know when running a kindergarten. So, from the research that I did, I saw that these were essentially the tables that were in common with multiple kindergartens. And so with this database, I can try to showcase those specific those specific tables that were in common. So with that, I created those tables that serve to share specific data of either students or employees within the database. So as for any kindergarten, there are both employees and students within the database. And beyond that, I want to show how each of these tables relate with one another to display specific information to the user. So on with the data of itself, they are assigned with specific information, but even beyond that, I want to show how they relate with one another to see like the big picture of everything. So my ER diagram, as you can see, we have 7 tables. We have staff roles, staff, classroom, health record, medication, guardians, and students. So, as with the staff that is going to be on campus and hired for Joel's Kindergarten, each staff will have a role. And within each role, there is a role ID, role type, role description, license status. And so that's something that each staff, whether they're a nurse, a teacher, a principal, they will have a role within this school. So within the staff, there are essential information because they are going to be foreign keys to other tables. So there's staff ID, role ID, classroom ID, first name, last name, gender, primary phone number, email, active status, and other details. Active status is a very important thing to note that it tells me whether or not this particular employee or this staff member is currently active within the school. So next table is classroom ID, classroom number, and capacity. So with the classroom, there's going to be one staff or multiple staff assigned to each classroom. So that's why there's a foreign key with that to staff. Health records. So we have HRID, so which is health record ID, flu vaccination, yes or no, flu vaccination administration date of COVID-19 vaccine, yes or no, COVID-19 vaccine administration date, MMR vaccine, yes or no, MMR vaccine administration date, emergency contact 1, and emergency contact 2. So here it will allow me to know because with this table, it is a foreign key to students table, but with that, it serves to tell me with each student whether or not they have these vaccines and when they got them. And then this is also an emergency contact situation. In the case of if a student's hurt or anything, this is where we would go to find that emergency contact. So students, so there's student ID, guardian ID, classroom ID, HR ID, first name, middle name, last name, gender, birth date, active status, and other student ID. Same thing with active status. There are going to be students who are actively enrolled and then students who are inactive. So either no longer attending or they have finished the program and left. And another thing to point out in comparison to this versus the staff, I put middle name as a column, but I left it like null, so that because not all students will have middle names. Like for myself, my name is Joel Lucas. I have no middle name, so that column, if I was a student, will be null. But yeah, also associated with health records is medication. So the table has these columns: medication ID, HR ID, student ID, medication name, active status, dosage, frequency, medication start date, medication end date, and other medication details. So there are going to be students within this program that need to take medication, and they may need to be administered by the nurse on campus, but not all students have it. So this is a specific section so that we know which students are taking medication, what the name of the medication is, and what the dosage and frequency. The nurse will have access to that. And then with each student, they have guardians. So there's the guardian ID, guardian name, relationship, middle name, primary and guardian, yes or no, phone number, email address, and other guardian information. So here with each student, there's a guardian that's assigned to them. So essentially their parent or a guardian. This allows us to know who may be picking them up from school, who we may need to contact to share information, and essentially just having access to that information. So now to our queries. So this query, it is as simple as select start from Joel's kindergarten students. This code allows me to view all the students that were admitted to Joel's kindergarten, both active and inactive. Yeah, as you can see, it gives us all the information that we need within this particular column of students. So this query allows me to see how many students have been entered in the database for Joel's kindergarten. So this is just a running total. This also includes all active and inactive. So the value here is there have been 21 students that have been in this database for essentially as students. Next query allows me to view all the students in the database that start with the letter J in their first name. So displaying here, we have all the students who have J as their first letter in their first name, and essentially allowing me to see who those students are. And I think a situation where this will be necessary is if there was an assignment where a student forgot to spell out their whole name and they just left a letter. Say in this case they left J as their letter. This will give me the impression of, okay, which students could that be? And so from there I'll do process of elimination and assess who could which student this paper belongs to. Next query allows me to view all the students, first name, last name, student ID, with a classroom ID of 1. So here we have multiple classrooms. And so here I need to know maybe an attendance sheet. But with an attendance sheet, I need to know who's all in classroom 1. I wouldn't want to know the students in classroom 2 and want their names in this list. So this has the list of all the students in classroom 1. Next query. This query allows me to view all students, first name, last name, student ID, who has a guardian with a name that starts with the letter S. So here not with the letter S, that has an S in it. Here we simply can display all the students that have a parent that has an S in their name. If we were trying to recall a guardian's name, forget what their name was, this is just a way to access those students and break that down. Next, this query allows me to view the health records ID and the emergency contact to students taking a medication at their school. So this is a right join that we wrote. And so, as I mentioned before, there are students who are specifically taking medication within the school. So here we have access to their health ID, but also their emergency contact. So say there was an adverse reaction to the medication, or if there's a need to contact their guardian, we have their emergency contact on hand, ready just for those situations. Next query allows me to view all the health records that are connected to students taking a medication. So a little step down, this is just the students who are taking a medication, very specific to what their health ID is. And so from there, we can ascertain which students are taking medication. Next one, this is a union between of the health record ID and both the health record and the medication table. So this is just a query to run that. Oh, my apologies. To run that. And last but not least, this is a custom store procedure that allows the user to select all the students in the database without needing to write the query. So this is just the procedural query that we had built for this database. And so from here, you can see that it's been created with the check marks and everything. And last thing, project difficulties. One area that was difficult for the project was assigning data types to each attribute, because when writing queries, if it didn't follow that style, then the code would not run. So one thing that I saw that was very hard to remember was whenever I was writing the data type or writing the where functions or clauses for queries, if they were either an integer or a var data type, they needed to be written in a specific format. And so there are times where I'm like, oh gosh, what was the data type? And so I had to go back and forth at times when I did that. And another area was assigning foreign keys. And then when assigning foreign keys, it took a while because it forced me to create an index, but I couldn't create duplicates. So I had to find a workaround behind that. So it took a while for me to figure out in order to get these tables properly written out. But yes, that is my presentation over Joel's kindergarten. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.